So this is going to be a little bit hard to talk about, but I am 32 and I basically have no friends at this point. And I think honestly it's partially my fault. Now that's not to say that I've never had friends, but I've misunderstood the assignment when it comes to building relationships my whole life. I've taken a lot of people for granted, and I haven't been the best friend in return, and now I'm at a place in my life where it's very difficult to meet people. There was a point where I had lots of friends actually, and it was during childhood and also sort of in my mid-20s. I met a lot of people through support groups. However, as time went on, we slowly began to separate and go our separate ways. And unfortunately, that was my core group of friends, and I didn't realize that I had to keep building leads for more new friends. And I don't really know what to do at this point because all my early 20s friends have gotten married and moved on, and I'm blessed to have even had them. We still call each other sometimes, and we still play video games and stuff like that, which I'm super appreciative of. But it's not the same as seeing them in real life, and sadly, I don't really get to see my real life friends ever, honestly. It's been a while since I've been able to do that. And I've been left out of certain things where certain people in our friend group would get invited to certain events except for me. And I really have been left wondering why, especially because I really feel like I've done everything that I could to be a good friend at that point. At least in terms of my newer friend group. And unfortunately, I know there's a loneliness epidemic going on, but it's truly hard to meet people these days. And I want to be honest that I did push people away when I was depressed. I isolated myself, and I lost contact with almost all of my people at one point. And then I ended up meeting new people through my support groups, and that was fine, like I said. But not having friends, it gets to a point where like you have social needs as a human being, and not having them being met is really challenging. And I really don't know what else to say. I'm kind of bummed and depressed about that. And I honestly just don't even know how to connect with people, really. It seems like even getting out of the house is a kind of a challenge for me. And I don't want to make excuses for my situation, but I'm really judged harshly sometimes by other people for not having more people in my life. And it seems like no matter what I do, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. And it's hard to not really have any income to go out and meet people. I don't drink either, so bars and clubs have never really been my scene. I really don't have anything in common with people that go out, and I'm not trying to be like I'm not like the other girls or anything like that. But I just have different preferences, and I want to maybe join Bumble again. But honestly, I've gone through so much rejection from Bumble that it's actually kind of crazy, and it kind of becomes like a dating site but for friends, and you keep getting ghosted by people and you wonder what happened and you don't really know. And I don't like getting rejected constantly, and I know I have to get over it to meet people, but when you're already like at an all-time low in terms of fitting in and stuff, it gets kind of hard to take more L's. It gets to a point where you're like just a terminal loser, and it's very difficult to be at the bottom of the heap in terms of desirability and being a social person. I didn't really get how unfair life was until recently, and I know that's kind of strange to say. I kept thinking that my high sense of justice and my beliefs in meritocracy were shared by most people, and that's just not true. I have kind of a rigid sense of justice, and I'm not really sure where that comes from, but I notice most other people don't really have it. And I think that makes it difficult for me to socialize with people, because my view of what's fair is different from the average person's view of what's fair. I don't know how to explain it. And my ADHD, I'm not trying to make excuses, but getting out of the house sometimes can be a challenge. Just getting dressed sometimes can be hard. And At this point, I am just trying to figure out how to build a friendship group from scratch at 32, because I'm 32 and I have no friends. So anyway, my name is Shelby. If you guys are new here, you can check out the links in the description for buying my art. I'm an artist. You can buy my art. You can support me on Buy Me a Coffee, or you can support me down below with super chats and channel memberships and stuff like that. But being lonely at 32 is difficult. I've been lonely my whole life. I remember when I was in university, I had severe social anxiety, and the only people that were noticing me were men who were interested in me sexually. And I had a hard time finding people in university because I was so petrified of even more rejection. I guess I met a couple of people, but we never kept in touch. And honestly, I didn't even like them. It was just like, I need someone to be surrounded by. And it just happened to be those people. I am kind of ashamed to admit that I had plenty of opportunities for friendship, but I just never kept up with them. There have been times where I've been invited to weddings and stuff, and then I sabotaged it, and I didn't end up getting the most out of it that I should have. I remember in high school, this is kind of where it all started for me, is that my old friend group kind of disbanded, and they started calling me names, and because of my neurodivergence, I was kind of a little bit developmentally delayed in high school. And I didn't really understand boundaries, and I felt like I was in this weird, strange fog all the time. And I wasn't reading social cues, and if you're a girl who has emotional dysregulation and you're not reading the room, then you get ostracized very quickly. And the level of microaggressions and backhanded compliments that I would receive were crazy. I tried everything that I could do to change, and at this point I just have to accept myself for who I am, which is that I'm kind of atypical, and I'm not going to say I'm not like the other girls, like I'm a pick-me or something, but I am atypical in terms of my mind. And I've really been looking into things where I can connect with other people with neurodivergence, maybe D&D, maybe a game night or something like that. I'm really interested in meeting other people that are like me, that don't fit in, and that are my same age. I don't want to say that I've given up hope yet. But in all honesty, I am lonely, and I know that they say that like being lonely is worse than smoking, and I do have social needs that are not being met, and not knowing how to meet them is really challenging. I'm thinking about D&D, I'm thinking about other groups that I could go into, and even then it's hard to kind of keep people in your life, and I'm trying to just keep people in my life because I've tried, dating in terms of Hinge and stuff, and a lot of you guys know I have a lot of negative feelings about dating. I don't want to be a negative person 24/7. I don't want to be someone that is repellent and repugnant of people. I've just been hurt to the point that I am afraid to connect with people, and I'm very sensitive to rejection in a way that I think is not proportionate. And even though I can rationally say that I'm sensitive to rejection, but when I'm in it, it's very severe. I don't even know what to say. I don't know if rejection and ADHD go hand in hand, but I have extreme rejection sensitivity to the point where I reject people before they reject me. And that's not the way to go about life, on defense mode, always anticipating the next shoe to drop and waiting for something bad to happen. You're supposed to assume the best in people. But it seems like there's a barrier between me and other people at this point. It just seems that it's a bit difficult for me to even feel connected to someone, even if we're in the same room. And I feel like it's difficult for me to get past this strange psychological barrier that I have in terms of interacting with other people. And I'm kind of practicing socializing on the camera, but it seems like there's a log jam in my thoughts, and that there's just too many thoughts for what I'm thinking, and I don't even know what questions to ask people. I don't even have baseline basic social skills, it seems, when it comes to asking for people. And I think that my anxiety is for a reason. I mean, I think that my social anxiety is a good thing. It protected me in a lot of ways, but it's also no longer serving me, and I think my social anxiety served me for a very long time. My social anxiety protected me from dangerous people. Because I was not able to read people's ulterior motives, I just assumed the worst in everyone. And I think it actually worked to an extent in terms of protecting me from negativity and bad people. However, it got to the point where I was rejecting good people as well. I was just kind of black and white thinking, blanket rejecting people. And I'm afraid of what my friends would say about me because I don't always reach out, and I'm not usually the one that makes that first call, and I'm not usually the one that's on point in terms of arranging meetups and arranging dates and stuff like that. And I have to take accountability for the fact that I haven't always been the greatest two-way person friendship-wise. And I am a lot of negative emotion all at once. I have emotional outbursts. My emotional regulation has cost me many friendships, and I don't blame the people that have set boundaries with me because of my emotional problems. I think that if someone is that way, then you should probably set boundaries with them. But at the same time, I'm not doing it on purpose, and it's a challenging thing to be dysregulated to the point where your social life is being negatively impacted. That being said, I am on medication, but there's still certain times of the month where there's just breakthrough symptoms. I'm sorry to tell you that. And my medication does help me, otherwise I'd be freaking out 24/7, but at the end of the day, it only takes one outburst to ruin and burn a bridge. And what's sad is that because I'm so dysregulated sometimes, I tolerate dysregulation in other people. And this kind of ends up looking like me getting taken advantage of by people, because it's like I want someone to hold space for me when I'm feeling destructive and self-destructive, but at the same time you're not really supposed to tolerate that behavior at all in anyone, including yourself. And I can be aware of it in the same way that someone without a leg can be aware that they don't have a leg. Someone without a leg can describe to you life without a leg. Someone without a leg can describe you the obstacles and limitations that they face as an amputee, while also still having those same limitations. But when the limitation is mental or emotional, there's this idea that you're able to control it 24/7. And because of my tolerance of other people's dysregulation, I end up in dysfunctional situations a lot. And it's hard for me to hold other people accountable when I'm not perfect. And it gets really scary because I almost gaslight myself in a lot of ways. And I've ended up in toxic relationships friend-wise before, where I'm basically being bullied and I didn't even realize it, because I feel like I'm a perpetrator sometimes. I feel like I have a guilty conscience and I don't know why. I just allow people to bully me, and it makes sense the way they rationalize it sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I feel too much for people that harm me, and I'm not trying to feel for them. I've always just been taught to see from their perspective. And it's difficult for me not to empathize with people that harm me, because I've been in a place where I feel like I've harmed people, not on purpose. I've never intended to harm anyone, I promise. It's just that my defense mechanisms sometimes are harmful for other people, and I don't know if those people are just saying that they've been harmed by me and they actually haven't, or if it's actually legit. It's just really confusing, because I've been gaslit a lot in my life, and the gaslighting is something that I do to myself as well. And I don't want to overthink my friendships. I'm not even looking for deep relationships at this point. I'm just looking for some pals to like play Pokemon with a little bit more, and maybe play some D&D and stuff like that. And that reminds me that I should probably like hang out with some Pokemon people and get around them and stuff like that. That's probably good. But I feel like some people do try to avoid me, and I don't mean to be off kilter. I just don't know any better, and I'm trying to learn as I go. It's difficult because I don't like taking instructions, so there's like this big thing where I don't like being told what to do, but at the same time I need guidance, and it's very annoying. And also, I don't really always know what people mean when they're giving me advice. I don't know if it's because I need a visual or I need an example, but people will get angry when I don't take their advice, when I really honestly just don't understand what they mean by it. And I think that I understand, so it doesn't even occur to me to ask for clarification. And then when I ask for clarification, sometimes it's seen as insubordination. Like I'm questioning authority or something like that. So it's like I don't know what to do. When I question When I ask questions, people get mad. When I don't ask questions, people get mad. I feel like I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. And the loneliness epidemic, I really believe, is real. I don't think scrolling on TikTok all day is healthy, obviously. I have some suggestions on what to do, like D&D, Pokemon, meetups, that kind of thing. I just need to do it. The problem is that I don't have gas in my tank at this point. And I need like a job, but then when you have a job, you don't have time. So it's like I'm unemployed and I have all the time in the world, but I don't have enough money to like buy lunch or even buy a coffee. And I know my YouTube money is coming, but it's a little bit of a delay at this point. And I don't want to like overspend my YouTube money because I'm trying to save up for a way to actually escape. So don't think I'm forgetting about my YouTube money that you guys have helped me procure so far. My goals, I really don't even want to speak my goals out loud with my money, but it does involve independence. But I mean, hey, 20 bucks here and there would be great to spend on friendship. And I've met a lot of you guys through my DMs, and you guys have been really supportive of me a lot, most of the time. I don't want today to be a pity party. I kind of want today to be solution oriented. But if you're in your 30s, how do you feel about not having friends if you don't have friends? Or if you do have friends, what is your secret? Because I feel like my 20s were kind of misrepresented as the time of my life, and that was not my experience. I didn't really have the time of my life in my 20s. Maybe it's my own fault, but my mental health problems really got in the way. And I know we can talk about that ad nauseum, but the reality is it doesn't impact me, and it's kind of like having a chronic condition. I also have a physical chronic condition, so they kind of play off each other quite a bit. And I just need to stop making excuses and just go, but sometimes it's difficult to even be aware of your excuses, if that makes sense. I honestly would really benefit from like cognitive behavioral therapy and ongoing therapy and ongoing treatment, because I need ongoing support, and that's the reality, but right now I can't afford it. One of my goals is cognitive behavioral therapy, but in terms of like getting the most out of it, I would need to do it for like a year, and that's extremely expensive. But we're going to keep selling my art, so if you want to support me on getting my cognitive behavioral therapy journey, you can buy my art on Shopify down below. There's a couple other ways, of course, super chats, but if you prefer getting something in return, I really think that buying my art is the best way. You can also check out my art on Instagram, so that's where I post all my art, and if you want to commission me, I'm open for commissions. I also have a few originals for sale as well. So anyway, that's pretty much it. This is the confessions of someone that has lost all of her friends through mostly her own actions or lack thereof. And I'm trying to rebuild because I don't want to go the rest of my life with no one to even send memes to. Sometimes it's just good to have someone to send memes to, you know? And I've thought about reconnecting with people from my past, and maybe I should. I don't want to focus on myself so much. I want to try to focus on other people. And I'm going to do my best from now on to continue on. Anyway, thanks again. This is Shelby signing off.